So there's nothing else that you take away from this series on Lazarus. I want you to take away that the community is commissioned in the story in two places: to remove the stone and to unbind the dead man. That is our calling as Christians, right there in the work of resurrection, to remove the stone and to unbind the dead. So what the heck does that mean, right? What does it mean to remove stones and to unbind what's dead? I don't know. But I think there's some people in our church who do. And so we're going to be hearing some testimonies this morning, some real life Lazarus testimonies from our own midst. We're going to be hearing from them about what it means to be unbound in community. You ready?
I feel like a deep breath, right? So I was bound. I was bound by choice, by expectation, by family history, by cultural norms. When I got married in 1977 to the then love of my life, it was for life. I had every expectation that I would celebrate 50 plus years of marriage to the same person. It's what my parents did. It's what his parents are doing. We made a choice to be together through sickness and in health as long as we both shall live. That was my binding. And it wasn't a burden or a trial or a compromise. It was exactly what I wanted. When it became apparent that the binding was not mutual, it was harmful for me to stay, I needed to leave the relationship. The process of unbinding took years, is taking years. The concept of an alternate life choice was so remote from what I considered for so long that it was a testimony to the strength of the binding. I was hardwired to make the marriage work. We had such history and the family and our life and our stuff and the apparent good life with friends and the cottage and the routines and the traditions and the familiar patterns and all the elements that surely meant we would be happily married. And I had all kinds of judgment about divorce, and I couldn't even imagine what the impact on the kids would be, even as adults. I was holding on to the binding desperately. The work around unbinding from that was huge. It was terrifying, wrenching, hard, painful work that is taking years. The unbinding from what I had pictured as my life, the fairy tale happily ever after, boy meets girl, boy loves girl, that was my story until it wasn't. So unbinding from that could not have happened in isolation. It would not have happened in isolation. While much of unbinding is solitary, having community was critical. Because in the unbinding process, there's chaos and fog and swirling emotions. There's being consumed by the past, overwhelmed by the present, and frightened by the future. There's being frozen, not knowing the way forward, not wanting to move at all, sometimes not wanting to be. So then there's community. The community was this life-saving, amazing combination of inner circle and broader circle. And this morning it sort of came to me that it manifests itself in three ways: parachute, presence, and possibility. And so the community was this inner community and outer community. And an example of the parachute, presence, and possibility came to me this morning. So it was the moment of crisis, the sort of the apex of my story, the moment I knew the truth. So parachute. I called her and said, "Where are you? Can you come?" And Patrice said, "I'm on my way." I was free falling, I was going to crash, and she was my parachute. presence. Physical, psychic, there in the moment with me as I was careening around the room. Presence and comfort. Possibility. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And she says, let's make a list. Okay, so simple words, right? But huge significance, because let's make a list says there's a next step. There's a step forward. There's a possibility of moving through the quicksand. And that parachute presence and possibility occurred repeatedly through this time for me. So the people in the tent listened to me, consoled me, counseled me, questioned me, cried with me, checked in with me. They helped me discover my own truths. Forward, outward, unbound. And then there's the broader community that gave this critical, essential, foundational sense of presence and support. We know what that looks like. We know what that looks like. We do it all the time. So somebody calls out, they want prayers, or they need food, or they need yard work, or they need something. A need becomes apparent, and you all come forward. Some of you don't even know who the person is. You just want to help. So there's this sense of connectedness, this web of relational connections. And the more subtle aspect of this, when people don't even know what's going on, is that the web still is intact, and it's significant, solid, and sustaining. So with me, most people had no clue what was going on during much of the unbinding. Still, I felt this sense that you all wouldn't let me fall through the cracks. And you knew you'd pray for me. As part of this community, I was held. As part of this community, I am held. And now, coming out the other side of the trauma, that life experience, I'm part of the net. I'm available for holding you. I'm part of the web net that's a presence for when other unbinding is happening. You've modeled the best of that for me, and I'm all in there to be there for you. Parachute, presence, possibility, community.